So, welcome to everyone who's here live. Big appreciation for you for turning up live. I know it's late for some of you. I know it's early for some of you. And so, always appreciate people who make the extra effort. I think that the people, when you can come live, I think you get more benefit. Now, that's not to say you won't get benefit. The people that are watching the recording, obviously, some of you are at work, some of you are otherwise indisposed. I think you'll get a lot of value, but where you can, if you can turn up to one of these things live, there's a different energy, absolutely a different energy of being there live and so on. And I know it does put you on a spot potentially if you're, if you're one of the people who's on the screen or whatever, and you want to. But hey, if you want to ask your questions, you want to find out about this amazing process, then this is the way to do it, because then you can get your personal questions answered. I'm going to share my screen because I do have a little bit of stuff I want to put up, just to go through that very quickly and give us a foundation for this work, because I know that some of you will be coming from no background at all through to those of you who are already using this approach. I hope that this will be helpful for all of you. One is anyone who knows tapping knows that you get the benefits just from doing tapping. And everyone who knows me knows that when you're with me, if you tap the whole time, you're going to get the benefits of that continual tapping in tuning and toning your energy. So I recommend, if you know tapping, you can start now. I have to put up the legalistic stuff first. This is an education session. We'll do a bit of coaching. It's not medical or psychological advice. Even though I trained in psychology, I want to assure you I have fully recovered. And also this is what we're presenting here is actually an energy approach. So this intention tapping actually incorporates a lot of evidence-based components. And but even though that's the case, the totality and some of the techniques that I'm going to use and show here have to still be considered experimental because it's still relatively new and we don't have hundreds of randomized controlled trials on it and so on. We have several studies that we've done, but we don't have enough for the scientific establishment to be able to say this is evidence-based in its totality. Therefore, you have to agree to take full responsibility for your mental and physical health and use of the techniques. And especially if you have physical or mental health issues, and especially if they are severe or long-standing, you should consult with a physician or therapist. Now, just quick guidelines, calls, you know they're being recorded. You've already given permission to being recorded. Please, if you could keep your microphone on mute unless you're called. If you can avoid background distractions, if you have to get up and leave, if you just switch your camera off so we don't watch you wandering around the room. I literally ran a group once where I had a lady who wasn't aware and she took off her clothes. And it was an Italian group, and it was a big webinar we were running. There were a lot of people. I didn't notice this because I was coaching with someone at the time, but those who had it on gallery view, of course, saw this. So just be aware, of course, if you have your camera on, we can see what you do. If you can have your camera on because it's good to see you and interact, that's great. But if someone comes in the background or whatever, just switch it off. Other than that, join in, participate, have fun. We should have a lot of fun. And for those of you who know tapping, you know if you tap along, you're going to borrow benefits. So I'm using this new approach called intention tapping that I discovered. I've been using tapping since 1997 when I learned it from Gary Craig's videotapes. Videotapes, that's how long ago it was, right? And not DVDs even, videotapes, and then studied with Gary Craig in 1998, and then got involved in presenting his approach called EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, and we were teaching EFT, and then we were teaching advanced EFT all around the world. My friend, good friend, Dr. David Lake, was doing that with me, and he's actually important here because he helped me to develop the tapping version that I use in intention tapping. But the way of using intentions combined with tapping is something that I discovered. These intentions engage the power of the unconscious mind, and they are aimed at the emotional attachments and body energy disturbances behind our problems. I believe that when you have a problem, it's because you have formed an emotional attachment. You can have an emotional attachment to a concept such as I'm not good enough, or you can have an emotional attachment to a concept such as bridges are scary. All kinds of things you can have attachments to, um, and those attachments cause suffering. And there's also a resultant disturbance in the energy in the body, and this process can restore the energy flow and release the emotional attachments. And it does that through using tapping combined with intention. It's a tool for emotional freedom. It's a tool for emotional healing, and it also can be used for peak performance. I've used it in those ways with many elite athletes and lots of people in high level corporate leaders and so on. So there's two parts to this process. There's the tapping part, and the tapping part we use, although there are some similarities with EFT, we call it simple energy techniques because many years ago when we were working with Gary Craig and then we were experimenting and changing things, we agreed with him that our system was different to his system, and so we needed to give it a different name. And so that's what we do. We're not just taking EFT and calling it something else. It is different. There are many differences with it, and I'll show you some of them today. And then there's the intentions that we combine with the tapping. I call that intention-based energy process. So intention tapping combines SET and IEP. That's the process, the tapping and the intentions. They can be used separately and together. When I first discovered this way of using intentions, that was way more powerful than anything I'd ever done before in terms of, I've been trying to work with intentions forever. When people think of intentions, they mostly think of affirmations. And that just did not work for me the way it said on the box. Absolutely not. But this works for me and it works for many people that I've used it with. And there's a good chance it's going to work for you as well. And if you are a practitioner and you want to learn to use it with other people, I encourage you to get involved in our trainings to learn how to do that. And you can get profound results. Some of you have come from the program that I did with Stefan Gonick recently on EFT experts. And he just wrote to me and said, just from what you shared in that program, I worked with a long-standing client who I hadn't been able to get results with, and the results were profound. I'm going to put his statements out in my next newsletter. If you subscribe to that, you'll see what he said about that. So each of these can be used on their own, and they're very effective, and together they're absolutely fantastic. The tapping we use is very simple. It's so simple, it could be done by a little child, like it was when we went up to the Philippines and taught it to people after the super typhoon, including this beautiful little girl who's demonstrating it for us. And it evolved from EFT. EFT is a wonderful technique. It's fantastic. It gets great results. I used it for many years. If you want to continue to use that, that's great. If that's what works for you, that's what you should use. I always say the best technique is the one that you can use and that works for you. My good mate that I mentioned, Dr. David Lake, I've known him for many years. We went and studied with Gary, and he got his lifelong public speaking phobia cured with EFT. And then we traveled around the world for 20 odd years together, teaching initially EFT and then teaching our own creations and our own versions of this. The tapping points you'll be familiar with if you know EFT. And if you're new to tapping, these are the points that we use. The point on the top of the head, side of the eyebrow or the start of the eyebrow, side of the eye, under the nose, under the chin in the midline, underneath the head of the collarbone, under the arm, on the side of the body, and then some points on the side of the thumb and on the side of the fingers and on the side of the hand and on the wrist. Now, a lot of people who are learning EFT these days, they don't use these finger and hand points, but we find them really effective. And when I introduce this, people often say, you said it was simpler. This is more complex. There's more points. But actually, once you learn these points, the processes we then use, you'll see, are much simpler than what they do in EFT, because essentially we discovered that there's great value just from tapping. So in our approach, you can tap gently on these points in any order. Usually you tap with two fingers of your dominant hand. You can tap on the points on either side of the body. And while you're tapping, you can focus on whatever you're aware of, whether it's your thoughts that are upsetting you, whether it's your feelings, whether it's body sensations, whether it's emotions, whether it's memories, whatever it is, you can focus on that. And we like to use an approach where we combine that with a mindful acceptance. So you're using mindfulness, you're just noticing and you're paying attention, you're accepting whatever the feelings and thoughts are doing, you're allowing them to do that, you're adding tapping to their presence, and you are following what happens from there. And that approach is very, very powerful on its own, just with tapping. We also discovered you can tap directly, where you tap in a focused way, where you focus specifically on issues, and that's what they do a lot in EFT. And we also discovered that just tapping indirectly without having to focus on your core issues and without having to know anything about your problems and without having to be a detective and without having to be a psychologist, you can get great results just from tapping itself on the points. So once you know the points and you know how to do the tapping, you know enough to be dangerous in terms of getting results. And I mean dangerous in a good way, because we've seen people get over entire lifelong issues just from tapping daily, just from doing some daily tapping. And we believe that if you tap daily, you will accumulate benefits in your system. You'll reduce your overall stress and anxiety, and your good, confident life energy will come up. So today I'm going to show you some ways of tapping directly, but I'm also going to encourage you to tap indirectly and just tap on the points the whole time. And also let you know that you can tap on the points. Actually, let me just show you this rather than putting it up on the screen. And in fact, who's new to tapping? Um, don't have enough of you on the screen to be able to see you all, but is anybody on the screen willing to put up their hand and say they're brand new to tapping? Um, okay, so nobody who's on screen with their camera on is, but if you're brand new to tapping just let me know in the chat. So in fact, if everybody knows tapping, then we can go from there. But I'm going to go through the points anyway, just to be sure. So there's a point on the top of the head. I don't usually teach that first, because when my clients see that, they go, oh, that looks ridiculous. I feel like I should be rubbing my tummy. I usually teach them these other points first, and then I teach them the one on the top of the head. Then there's the side of the start of the eyebrow. You can go on this side or you can go on this side. And if you'll see that some people like to tap on both sides. I might just put myself on speaker view so that the people in the recording can see it more clearly. So you can tap like this, you can tap on this side, or you can tap on both at the same time. And so you'll see people in the group that are doing this. It works well whichever way you do it. This side is connected to this side. When you're tapping on this point, you're tapping on the same energy line as if you're tapping on this side. And so it works quite well. Okay. And then you tap on the next point on the side of the eye, under the eye in the top of the cheek, under the nose in the hollow in the midline, under the lip in the midline, underneath the head of the collarbone, close into the center of your chest, under the arm on the side of the body. Ladies, it's about middle with the bra band, level with the middle of the bra band. For gents, it's, excuse me, just let someone in here. For gents, I always say it's level with the nipple on the side of your body. One man, of course, because typical man maybe, he said, I don't have a nipple on the side of my body. I said, well, if you just trace around from the one on the front and tap level with that, that will work fine. And he did, and he got good results actually. Then on the thumb and finger, you can tap like this using the other hand. You can tap on the side of the thumb level with the base of the thumbnail, side of the index finger, side of the middle finger. We also tap on this side of the ring finger, and we tap on the side of the little finger, and then we tap on the side of the hand. And you can also tap on the wrist. And instead of being precise, having to find that point, it works quite well just to tap like this. And you can tap on this one on the other side as well, and you can tap them together if you like to do that. And so when you're tapping, once you know tapping, you can tap on these points in any order. I think it's really good to learn all of them and then not have to think about where to tap. basically, if you're starting from the top, you're going down the body all the time. And then each point is a little bit further down the body until you get to under the arm. And then when you get to the thumb, if you're holding the thumb up, then you're going down the finger points and tapping like this till you get to the bottom and you tap on the side of the hand. And so, of course, I can tap in sequences where I tap on all of these points, but I can also tap randomly on any of these points. And if I'm tapping on enough of these points, I'm going to get a benefit just from doing that. Now, I mentioned the finger tapping. The finger tapping you can do like I just showed you. You can also do it using the thumb of the same hand to tap on the finger points of the same hand by letting the thumb be the tapper. Just letting the thumb do the tapping on the side of each of the fingers here, level with the base of the nail. And then, of course, you can go down the ladder and you can go up the ladder. And you can also wrap around either your index finger or your middle finger, and you can tap on the side of the thumb point that way. Now, I can do this very discreetly. I can be tapping, as I am now, outside of your view. And this is the great thing about the finger tapping is that you can take this with you anywhere. This is a way of taking tapping out into public where the problem occurs, because if you can get tapping into the situation where the anxiety comes up, often that's essential for bringing the anxiety down. Some people are not able to bring the anxiety up so much when they work on it. It still helps, by the way, to do lots of tapping, even if that's not the case. But until you experience the benefit of going in the situation and having the anxiety reduced, then you're not going to know that things have changed and improved. So this is the basic process of tapping, and we do continual tapping. And I encourage you to be tapping right now. If you can be tapping on those points, you can tap on the points on the hand, like the finger tapping, like I've shown you here. You can tap on the upper body points, and you can tap on each point as many times as you like. If you're a little bit obsessive compulsive, then you can count the amount of times you tap on each point. It doesn't matter as long as you get some tapping into your system. Now, intention tapping combines this tapping, this process of continual tapping, with an insight that I made when I was having a tough time, had a heel spur, I was getting down on myself as well as suffering the pain of that. And I was doing everything I could to get out of my angsty state. And this statement from Byron Katie in her book, Loving What Is, jumped out at me. I read this many times, and I've also written and spoken about the fact that it's the emotional attachment that's the issue. But on this occasion, there was something about this that just seemed more clear to me. It's not the thoughts, it's the attachment that causes the suffering. And I knew this, that you could use tapping if you had a thought and when you think it, it upsets you, and then you do the tapping, and then you can think the same thought and it doesn't upset you. So the emotional attachment to that thought has been released, and now the thought has no power over you whatsoever. So I realized tapping can release emotional attachments. And I also knew that tapping could restore energy flow. But in this moment, the question came up to me, what if we could use intention to do this? And I formed and used that day these two intention statements that have now become a core part of this process I call intention-based energy process, which is part of intention tapping. The first one was I release all my emotional attachments to this problem. The minute I did that, I felt a significant shift. Every time I used it after that, I felt a significant shift. Every bit as powerful as some of the biggest shifts I'd had from using tapping on my issues. And I also, when I discovered that or became aware is the reality, I became aware that I had a tightness in my chest, then I had the same insight. Tapping can be used on that tightness to restore the blocked energy in the body to flow. But what if we could use intention to do that? And I just came up with the simple intention. I restore the right energy flow to my chest. Instantly, I felt an expansive breath, and the rest is history, basically. I then went and shared it with my wife, and she got results. I shared it with my friend, and he got results. I started, discussing it with colleagues, and they got results. And then I started using it with clients, and they got results. And most people tend to notice results from this very, very quickly from using it. The process can take longer. Sometimes you use the statement, it can take longer for some people to experience the processing through their body. There are even some people that it takes days for that to happen, and some issues take a while to pass through. But now I believe that this process can really help you to allow your energy to do what it wants to do. Energy and emotions are meant to move us and move through us, and we process them through our body. And when we have something which we're stuck on, then we have a stuck feeling in our body. I say if you have a stuck perspective, you have a stuck feeling. If you have a stuck feeling, you have a stuck perspective. Every time you think about that thing, you're stuck with that reaction or you're stuck with that way of seeing it. And when you restore the energy flow and you release the attachment, then you're able to flow into different ways of feeling and being, and you can see things from different perspectives, from a wider perspective, and you're no longer hooked. Now, I want it today to be practical. I want to show you this. I want to demonstrate it. I would love you to tap along. So if you are a tapper, then you already are tapping, which is good to see those that are. And if you're brand new to this, and even if you only remember a few of those points that I showed you, you can just tap on those points. And if you do that gently with hard enough to feel it, but not hard enough to hurt, then you should notice after the session that after having done another, 45 minutes or more of tapping, that you'll be feeling in a different space. So first of all, let me just throw open for any quick questions about this process or about anything that I've said so far. If you have a question, you can put it in. So someone says, Elizabeth says, can you combine EFT and set? Uh, well, EFT and set are actually they're two processes of tapping. Um, the differences with EFT are that in EFT they use when you have a problem, you have to put that into what's called a setup statement. We don't typically use setup statements. We just focus on whatever you're aware of and we apply the tapping to that. So there are some quite differences between the way we do tapping and the way they do tapping in EFT. We found that setup statements were not necessary. And also sometimes they got in the way, and some people got upset that they couldn't think of the right words or they couldn't find their right core issue or they couldn't describe the problem. They always want to know, what words do I use when I tap? Well, you know what? You can tap without words and you can get great results tapping without words. And if you have an image that's upsetting you in your head, and the image is of, maybe your mother growling at you when you were 6, whatever, you don't have to, in order to tap on that, you don't have to say, even though I have this image of my mother growling at me in my room when I was 6, you can hold that image and in mind, that memory in mind, and just tap. And you'll get great results just from doing that. If you have a tightness in your chest, you don't have to say, even though I have this tightness in my chest, I accept myself, and do that 3 times or anything like that. You can just tap and put your attention on the tightness in your chest. You do not need to use a reminder that you have a feeling in your chest every time by repeating it in words or putting it in words. That's absolutely, completely unnecessary. You don't have to use words to keep yourself aware of the fact that you have a tightness in your chest. You just bring your awareness to the tightness in your chest and tap. And when you do that, then you can just put all of your attention on what's happening and mindfully notice what goes on. So there are lots of differences between EFT and SET. If you go to on my blog on intentiontapping.com. If you go on there, you'll find there's some stuff that I've written about how, number one, how the intentions we use here are different to affirmations. Number two, how EFT and and the tapping that we use here are quite different. And I'll show you that. I'll show you that as well. Someone else have a quick question. maybe someone who wants to put up their hand and speak. That would be nice. Ah, Victoria. Okay, good on you. A real
Yeah,
person. Good.
I'm working with a young man who has no memory of what happened to him, but has a pattern of whenever he gets ready to go somewhere, he feels anxious about it during the planning phase, and literally gets super nauseous and has the dry heaves once he's in process to get to wherever it is he's going.
Yes.
Um, and once he gets there, it's like he was anxious about going on a flight. He's fine once he gets to the airport and is through security and getting on the plane. No more problem. But it's up until he gets there.
Yeah.
And he has no memory of anything
Okay.
that
Well, he doesn't
created
have
that.
to. See, in EFT at some point became obsessed with this concept of specific events as being the only way of treating issues. It's not the event. It's what you attach to that is causing the problem. That's how the problem gets replicated in current day. So whatever connection that you made from that that's influencing you, that's primary. The event actually is secondary. So I wouldn't worry too much. And that's the problem. You got to, that it's become unfortunately, the approach has become, I think, a less expansive version of working with energy and with problems than it was when I was first introduced to it by Gary Craig in the way that he was presenting it back then and using it back then. And and I'm much more interested in following the energy and the emotion and whatever the attachments are. And what's wrong is wrong now, even if it's the past becoming present. It's becoming present now, so we can access it now. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And he had an extremely strong. His brain was fine. He had worked his way through and practiced in his mind going to the airport and all the rest of this. And on the way, his body shut down. It kicked the
sure.
living daylights out of him.
Yeah, okay.
And it's like,
So
okay, it's whatever it is, it's unconscious. You don't remember it. We're going to have to do something else.
well, actually, it's different aspects. I do believe there are different aspects that can come up, and I'll just give you one example of a common one. A common one is um, it's going to happen again. It happened here, so it's going to happen there. Because it happened then, it's going to happen now. And so this is why I sometimes get, I don't know, do I get worried? Do I get upset? I just think, come on, people. There's other ways to work on this because for example, I worked with a lady who had had a car accident. She had a really good treatment from someone with tapping on that car accident. So they had done good work on releasing the terror, but she still couldn't drive. Okay.
Yeah,
Now she still couldn't drive because she had the simple attachment to it will happen again.
I
And the
think that's
minute
what
we
he's got.
released her emotional attachments to it will happen again, then she was able to start to become free to drive. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that's the one in this case. I'm just saying that's an example of an attachment. Now, how do you find that? Well, the way you find that in intention tapping is you start with whatever's there, and then we allow the unconscious mind to give us the aspects. And so I'm going to demonstrate that, and I might do that now because we want this to be an experience, and I'd like you all to tap along and get benefit from that. I'm going to need a willing victim, willing guinea pig, someone who is switched on. Um, Now I know Carol, you're a dab hand with this, and you, I'm looking for someone who's new first, if that's okay. Katerina, I haven't seen you in my group somewhere, have I? Okay, come on down. Now, that's not saying we won't get to do some more work with the others. Like I saw you, Kat, as well, and Carol. Let's see what we can do here. And if it's all right, Katerina, I'm going to spotlight us just so that everyone who wants to watch along can see us. If the issue is you being in the spotlight, then I'm sorry. That's going to be a problem. But it's going to be good, right? Okay. Now, do you know tapping?
Just basics.
Okay, so if you know the basics, you can tap. All right, and And everyone else, if you tap along. And so for now, I'm going to tap on these points on the upper body points, although often people don't see me tapping because I'm tapping on these finger points. I just find that easy, it's non-fatiguing, it accumulates a benefit, and so on. But for now, we'll tap on these upper body points. And you don't have to tap on the same points as me unless you want to. Okay. You can just basically stay on any point as long as you like for yourself. If you notice when you're tapping on that point that feels better for you, you can do that. And then just be aware of what works for you. Okay. All right. So now we need a problem. I presume you have at least one of those. We can't do a demo unless we have something to work on, right? I mean, we could. We need a problem or a challenge or a goal. It doesn't matter which. Because the minute you set a goal, you're bringing up problems, actually. You are creating a healthy challenge for yourself.
Yes,
So
so
what?
perhaps working with public speaking.
Okay, sure. All right. So what's the problem with that for you?
I just get nervous walking up to present something in front of a larger group of people.
Okay. So you already know that one of the aspects that triggers you is the size of the group. Okay. But with intention tapping, let's let the unconscious deliver whatever aspects are important for you right now. Just tap and just say this. Just say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to public speaking.
to public speaking.
And that's very global, but I want you to just let that do whatever it does. And now your only job is to be aware. And if anybody's watching, Katarine, you can already see a movement of energy here just from that intention. Now, are you aware of that, Katarina?
Yeah.
What did you notice?
Oh, calm came over me.
Yeah. And most people watching could have seen that, right? So so all we've done now is the global idea of public speaking, but I'm going to suggest that because you're on the spot here, there's an element of that that was maybe calmed down in that process. Okay?
Hmm.
So now we just keep tapping and notice what comes next. And it could be a thought, could be a feeling, could be a sensation, could be an emotion, could be a memory, could be an image, could be anything. And as soon as you notice, even if it's something that you think, oh, that's got nothing to do with this, just say it.
I had piano lessons ever since I was the age of I think 9.
Yes,
And each year we would work towards concert, right? So that parents would come and see their children
of course.
perform. And I think it must have been in the first years where I felt like the spotlight was on me, everybody watching, everybody listening, and I became really nervous, even though I could play perfectly fine.
Of course. Of course. So notice how we started very globally and then the unconscious brought up the stuff that a lot of people in EFT are looking for, which is the event, but it's not the event. You already pointed out one of the aspects was you being in the spotlight, right? So let's just take that one. Just say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to the spotlight
to the spotlight
and everything that means.
and everything that means.
And then, like before, just let it do whatever it does. and just notice. What are you noticing?
I feel a bit emotional actually.
Yeah. And so, whatever that emotion is, if you have words for the emotion, that's fine, but you can just notice the emotion because sometimes it's a combination of different things. And just say, I restore
I restore
the right energy flow
the right energy flow
to this emotion.
to this emotion.
And let it do whatever it does. Your body is very responsive to this if you're not noticing. And just keep letting it percolate through and do whatever it does. And then just be aware and open to whatever comes next. And what comes next can be, of course, it can be a soothing or it could be a calming, but it could be something else rising up. It could be another part of the problem. It could be another feeling. It could be stronger. Just notice whatever it is for you.
I'm not sure that the word proud came up, that
Oh,
I was actually feeling proud when I was little, but I felt so overwhelmed by that nervousness
yes.
that it was as if maybe like buried underneath the nervousness, the real feeling I was feeling.
Yeah. Well, actually, both are real. It's just that you
I know.
completely forgot about this one because of the other one becoming the focus. Yeah. Yeah. And that's what we say when you use intention tapping, you regain access to resource states and resource, uh, ways. You start reconnecting with resources and capacities and states that you forgot that you have. You start re-accessing other parts of the thing that you lost because of the the trauma or the upset. What? You smile so much. I don't know whether you have a problem or whether it's
No, it's lovely.
yeah, good, good. And so keep tapping and just keep noticing whatever's next. And we just allow the unconscious to give us whatever's next, and we go for as long as we need to. And some people say, "Oh my gosh, when does this ever end?" Well, actually, it never ends because we're there's always further we can do. But of course, you go, "Well, all right, I'm feeling good on that issue right now, or I'm feeling good on that aspect right now." But this problem has more than two or three aspects. So, what are you noticing now?
I related to the event.
Anything related to whatever you're experiencing right now, whatever
Yeah,
you
I felt like there
recall.
was perfection expected from me,
Right. Let's go with that.
as if I wasn't allowed to make a mistake
Yes, I
when
release.
performing.
I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to the perfection
to the perfection
expectation.
expectation.
See, this is why it's not just the event, it's the attachment that you had to the expectation of perfection, whether that was coming from your teacher, whether it was coming from your parents, or whether it was the little girl herself who decided that's what was needed in this situation. or thought that.
Did I speak?
Yeah, anytime.
Yeah, no, I think it was the expectation that I felt from my mum.
Right. Okay. So let's just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to my mother's
from
expectation.
my mother's expectation.
What are you noticing?
Yeah, that it's ridiculous to feel like that, to feel nervous about something that was not even probably real.
Yeah, but not if you're a little child. It's not.
Yeah. Yeah. And I could see that basically a child is just so, wanting to please the parents and
Exactly.
creates things in their mind that may not be real. That's what I meant to say.
In this moment, you're actually no longer in that experiencing it as the little girl. You're actually looking back at the little girl and you're seeing it from a bigger perspective and you're seeing how you were affected then, but you're also seeing that this doesn't necessarily apply in that way.
Mm. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So just try this. Just say, I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to looking at public speaking
to looking at public speaking
through the eyes
through the eyes
of a little girl
of a little girl
with a perfectionist mother.
with a perfectionist mother.
And what are you noticing now?
Sure. It's like that perhaps it wasn't even my mom putting that pressure on me, that but she never took time to speak to me about it.
That's right. Yeah.
She never made it clear
No.
that it's okay to make mistakes or whatever she may have chosen to say. Doesn't matter what it is.
I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to what my mother should have done.
to what my mother should have done.
Yeah, she certainly wasn't aware of your internal turmoil and stuff around this.
No.
And that might be a bigger issue with mum because, of course, now that we mention mum, we're into maybe all about mum and how mum wasn't always emotionally available and all that kind of stuff. And maybe
Yeah,
she was a little
that's
bit
right.
emotionally unintelligent or whatever.
Yeah, and I was just about to say that, and now I feel this huge compassion for her because she didn't know any better.
Yes, yes. That's what I found when I did all my tapping on not feeling loved and not, that I wasn't being loved and so on. And then I felt a lot better about my old man. And I'm like, for him to even have a family was a triumph
Mm.
because his dad left when he was 10. He was on the streets for years, you know?
Mm.
Hmm. This is what happens when you get out of the, because anxiety actually is all about us. And when you start to get out of it, it becomes about the other people as well. Not not about you, but it's actually the other people are included in this. Yeah. And then when you present, it can become about them rather than about you and your performance or you not doing the wrong thing or whatever. You have a much more expansive perspective and a more compassionate perspective. And for yourself as well. But what about if you make a mistake in the next time you present? I'm curious.
Oh, that's okay. That's fine. I'm happy to even like turn it into a joke.
So
Yeah.
there's probably more to do
It's not
here,
a big deal.
and you can do this for yourself. You can take what, in fact, what I often say to people is just do a lot of tapping in the next 24 to 48 hours because some other stuff will come up about this, right? But
Mm.
um, but you also once you know tapping, you know the basics of tapping. Once you start using these statements, even if you don't have any idea whether you're using the one correctly or whatever, you know, of course, we train people to do that and we train practitioners to do that. But I say if you just use the statements, just use it like on everything, meaning like a buckshot, that buckshot where it shoots out at everything and
Mm.
see what you hit.
Mm.
Because you can do that and you'll get somewhere with this. It has a lot of flexibility and a lot of forgiveness built into the system. Okay. But for right
Yeah,
now,
wonderful.
just for the group, if you just what do you feel in your body right now?
Mm. Relaxation, release, calm. Yeah, I just feel comfortable with
Mm,
um everything.
mm. And if you think about public speaking, do you have any public speaking coming up?
No, not really.
Why not? Oh.
Oh, maybe I should to test it out.
Well, that's yeah. See, when I work with people, I often say, "Where do you want to go ultimately with this?" Like because you can get over something and it's great, and you think, "Okay, I feel relief and I feel better," and so on. And there might be other aspects of this that you still need to get over. But if you get over it completely, what would you like to do or be able to do? Where would you like to go ultimately with this?
Oh, I haven't really thought about it.
No, I
This
mean you don't
this
want to
is
be
just something that
a
that came
world
up.
famous public speaker. It's just something that.
I don't know, just be more comfortable explaining things to maybe a group of clients as opposed to working one-on-one or when I go into networking events and someone suggests and puts me on a spot like you just did
Yeah,
without having anything prepared that I'll feel comfortable
yeah,
actually taking the group
yeah.
through something that I do in my clinic or similar.
And right now, when you talk about that, what do you notice?
I think that I can actually do it.
Yeah,
And I don't feel fear attached to it
mm,
like I did before.
yeah, good. All right, now think about a larger group and tell me what you notice.
Yeah.
Brings up a
Yeah, it's
little bit
not
of something.
yeah, it's not as strong as it was at the beginning
Yeah,
when
but
I
there's still
started speaking
something
with
there.
you.
Okay, so just, just, just for since it's here, we have a minute. Just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to the larger group.
to the larger group.
And what comes up?
But what comes up is another thing because since I was able to play the piano, it's still connected, I suppose. Um, I ended up playing the organ in our local church as well.
Hmm.
And there was just so many people, when during bigger days, whether it's Easter or Christmas or whatnot, and everybody, it was like the point where everybody would just stare at me.
Mm.
And I must have interpreted it as, oh my gosh, like, in more in a negative sense.
Yes.
Whereas now I can clearly see that they were probably like, oh my gosh, like encouraging, like, look at her go.
Yeah.
Like quite the opposite.
Yeah.
But when I
Exactly.
was,
Because
15 or
your mind
16,
makes stuff up.
yes, I was taking, because we obviously, there's the negative bias, like, that's where I went
Mm.
as a teenager.
Course. And a teenager, oh my gosh, that's the nature of being a teenager is to have a negative bias. Goodness sake, you know, during that time.
And
Yeah.
that was like that big, big group of people, and I could literally feel their eyes on me.
Okay. So just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to all their eyes on me
to all their eyes on me
and everything I made it mean.
and everything I made it mean.
I, of course, remind everyone that I am tapping along with you. Yeah. So each time you have another aspect like that, even if it only stirs you up a little bit now compared to before, it's because people say, "Oh, I'm fine, I don't have the same feeling." But if you still have some feeling, then you're not fully free on that issue. So you can do a little more on any of those things, even if they only bring up a little bit of stuff, and just see what
Mm.
happens. Yeah. All right. So far, so
Well,
good.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
So far, so good, said the man falling from the 20th floor as he went past the 10th floor. So far, so good. All right. Would you give a round of applause to our volunteer? Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, very good. Now, questions, comments, reactions, observations. We're going to have time for at least one more demo, but I'd like to have a chance for some quick questions about the process or what we did, if anybody has that. Lots of nice
I
clapping
do.
and hearts arising and all that stuff. And I'm sure there'll be some nice comments. And of course, who got a benefit from tapping along there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's often benefits from doing the tapping when someone else is working on an issue. Who's got a question or a comment?
I do.
Yeah, go
I
for it.
I'm looking for the button to to
Uh-huh.
press.
No, you're good.
Uh, okay. So the question that I have is has to do with can you break the attachment to a very bad experience separately, or is it a web tone wide, or it's just one piece that I have to cut off myself from?
Well, I don't see
So
it as
attachment, yeah,
I don't see
attachment
it
that
as
it presents a web tone wide, or just like I cut it off and forget about it, or
well,
leave it.
don't see it as cutting off. I see it as processing through. Okay.
Okay.
Um, so things move through and the energy that was stuck or that was caught up in this becomes part of the energy that's available to you for your life energy. And so I see that when you have a problem, you end up attaching part of your life energy to something. Okay. And that energy that's attached to that, you're not cutting off the issue, you're releasing the attachment of your life energy to that concept, and your life energy returns to flow in your mind body, right?
Yeah.
So it's not cutting off, And it's not like, okay, let's get rid of all of our attachments. It's actually we're releasing the emotion that we've attached to that and restoring it back into flow in our mind body. Does that make
So
sense?
it does. So it's dissipating the negative energy or the blocked energy or the connection will be dissipating, and I can visualize it like it returning to
Well,
me,
if
so I own it back.
yeah, you own it back. You always do own it, but you can get caught up in believing that your mind is
Yeah.
actually you. Okay. And so you attach to the projections of the mind or the thoughts of the mind or the images that the mind gets hooked on or the beliefs that the mind gets,
Yeah.
attached to. And then there's a dissipation in terms of the attachment. So you don't have the strong attachment anymore. But that can be experienced in many different ways by people. Um, it can be energizing, it can be calming, it can be enlightening, it can be all kinds of different things because there's different ways that we experience energy. Okay. And so, with Katerina, there was a lightening of the heavy feelings and some of the tight feelings, I would say. Okay. And some of this also relates to what we're doing with our body because we contract our body and that creates feelings of tightness and so on as well. And so when we release that, then we restore the blood flow and the energy flow into our system. Yeah.
So you enter into that channel of connection and you unwind things on the way. So that this is the process that you encounter new things popping up, be it
Yep.
physical or emotional or intellectual.
Yes, and we
Or,
follow the energy, we follow the strong energy, we follow the strong emotion, and we allow the unconscious to give us whatever's the next part. Okay.
it
And
seems
so,
it seems that and
go
seems
ahead.
that it's closely connected to the physical at the same time.
Well, it
Your
is,
your
but it
mental
isn't,
state.
it is, but it isn't always actually physical because sometimes we think something's physical, but it's just an energy. Okay. So sometimes I discovered this that when I started wearing this, excuse me, I left someone in the waiting room. I don't know how long they've been there. But when I started wearing this Fitbit, it really taught me that what I thought was how much I was physiologically upset, sometimes it was just emotional upset, and I was assuming it was having big physiological effects. But actually, it wasn't having as big physiological effects as I was imagining. It's like, for example, if you have a disturbance in energy in your chest, very common for people to not be able to breathe through that because it feels like it's a real physical barrier. When you restore the energy flow, then you can easily breathe. There's no barrier to your breath. But because it feels like it's real and physiological and so on, we only breathe up to it and it feels difficult to breathe further. So sometimes there is absolutely a physiological actual contraction of the muscles associated with that. And sometimes it just feels like that. Yeah.
I understand. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Sure. No worries. Victoria.
Yeah. So we're releasing emotional attachments, both positive and negative, right?
Yeah, because it's our concept is the positive and negative is just a concept. Okay. Because in fact, you can be attached to something that you think is positive, but it's not so positive. I wrote about this recently in my newsletter where I said you should use this on some of your positive beliefs. Because, for example, if you are emotionally attached to having to be strong, there can be a demandingness about that and a never relaxing about that and all that stuff and having to perform all the time for the world that you're strong and so on. So there can be a dark side to even so-called positive attachments.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. All right, let's do another one. So, all right, hands up who wants to work next. I'll leave it open to anyone. Carol, you're all right. You're an active participant volunteer. I'll just say before you do work, Carol, you've worked in my program, so maybe you could say something about your experience of using intention tapping.
Intention tapping has been incredible. It's really calmed me down and it's really opened up a larger vision of what's going on. and I just notice and notice and notice things all the
Mm.
time.
Good. All right.
So
Perfect.
it's yeah.
So now let's do some work. And I'm just going to spotlight us, and we'll only have 5 or 10 minutes. But again, for everyone else, if you tap along, you're going to get benefits. So just tap on any of these points as many times as you like, gently while you're observing, and some of that will get into your system and give you great benefits because you may not have the same content in your life as Carol, but you might be attaching to an issue in similar emotions, or your core emotional experience associated with your issue is going to be similar. So let's go for it. What do we got?
Believe it or not, I fell down again, same
Oh,
leg. And now
okay.
I'm gimped up my ankle. And I'm like,
Okay.
what the heck? I've got this idea that now this is the third time, and what am I supposed to learn? And like, what
That's
the
what the
heck?
mind does. Yeah.
I was doing all the right things. I was holding onto the rail and so on, but
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
slipped down a stair and I
Yeah. All right. Well, it's fair enough to look for patterns because, of course, you want to avoid them again. But the mind often makes it a pattern and ends up beating you up about it, or something else about it, right? And
that
it
might be
doesn't.
what's going on now.
And then
Yeah, maybe.
if you believe that you're kind of stuck in that, then you're like stuck with it. So let's just release any of that so that we don't have to believe any of that BS, right? Just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to all my BS over these falls.
to all my BS over these falls.
And we're going to let your unconscious work with that, right? Because we only want to deal with the truth, right? And if it is a pattern, of course, you'll be able to see the truth of that without the attachment.
Actually, it was interesting because I really related to what Katerina was saying
Yeah.
about, being watched, being seen, the
Yes.
public, all that kind of stuff. That resonated.
Like you mean when you fell, or
No,
falling,
I
or
was thinking
just
of
general?
in general but I thought the fall may be related to, you keep blocking yourself as the goal gets closer.
Ah,
And like
okay.
the idea of being seen, of course, is
All
is
right.
uh, is a
Well, let's
fear,
go
I
with
guess.
all right. So let's go with I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to I'm blocking myself.
to I'm blocking myself, to I have to block myself. I have to do this to save myself. What
Why
the
is that?
hell?
Save yourself from what? Being seen or something.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. I
Being,
release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to being seen.
to being seen. It's really weird because I've been feeling this tingling in my ankle because it was quite painful for a couple of days. And it seems to have abated slightly now.
Hmm. Okay. So you have pain, which, of course, if you have a physical injury, then you're going to have pain. But then there's the suffering. And sometimes what we're experiencing is more suffering than pain. And you don't need the pain to be a 10 out of 10 to know that you need to be mindful of it and look after it, and so on. Um, but that's interesting that there's some emotional component to your experience of the pain, right?
Yeah, and like trying to get out of bed this morning, I got really frightened. Like, what if I can't put my foot down on the
Mm,
floor and all that?
mm,
What if I can't
mm.
get to the bathroom and
Yeah, yeah.
that kind of stuff?
I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments.
to all my, I don't know, I'll just call them disaster projections.
Disaster projections. They are legion.
And just keep tapping. So you can see, I mean, people have different reactions when they're doing tapping. Sometimes people yawn, sometimes people shake, sometimes people sigh. Sometimes it's kind of like with Katarina, it's quite, um, let's just say, slow, kind of calm down. And with other people, there's kind of like with Carol, it's kind of like more around her face and causes, movements. Sometimes people burp, sometimes people sigh or yawn or whatever. There's all kinds of reactions you can have. Sometimes people have a shaking that happens. It's movement of energy. It's good. All good.
Is the laughter that too, Steve?
Oh,
Like when
yeah.
you,
Yeah, yeah. Well, laughter, Frank Farrell used to say, laughter is the sound of victory. Laughter is the only thing that no dictator can stand. No tyranny can last in front of laughter. And this is the tyranny of the dictating thoughts or the dictating self-critic or whatever. Hmm. And just keep tapping and notice.
I just had the thought that this is what it took to get me to stop
Yeah.
racing madly around.
Yeah. This is often when we have injury, it's because we're not being mindful for some reason. And so the racing around maybe is based on an anxiety or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I was at a funeral on Monday, and then on Tuesday, I went to see this friend who's suffering from Parkinson's, advancing Parkinson's, and she's very limited in her mobility. So it was like on her doorstep that I fell, and the two of us gimped over and had coffee anyway. But,
All right. Okay.
it was painful.
All right. Well, maybe you need to hurry up and do everything that you need to do before you end up like them.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm. I
Oh,
release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments.
to speed.
Speed and efficiency. When I go there, on the way to there, I'll do this and I'll do that. And I'll go
Exactly.
to Costco on the
Yeah.
way home.
And I'm going to relax. Now, what's the most effective and powerful way I can relax? You know?
I was unwilling to go out of the house because of the discomfort. I mean, I have been treated by the naturopath and he's going to have me back next week, but
Mm,
I even ordered like he said, you should take the weight off this foot
yeah.
while it's healing
Yep.
and you should get a cane or like a crutch.
Mm,
So I ordered the crutch on Amazon because I was
yeah.
not willing to go to the drugstore and look at the crutches. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
too painful.
Well, fair enough. And maybe that was you looking after yourself. So, I mean, you're not going to cut yourself any slack here. Just say I release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to all the ways I'm wrong.
to all the ways I'm wrong. Yeah, I had everything checked off. I was doing all my things. I have my little check off thing on my phone. Oh, I'm doing so well. I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing every day, and I'm walking the right amount of steps. Oops, guess I won't be walking too many steps.
Hmm. Well, now you have to have a different kind of experience, a different kind of speed. I think it was Gandhi said, more haste, less speed. Mhm. Pranathi says, hurry slowly. Yeah. I read once, there's more to life than increasing its speed.
Yeah. And the other thing is like I have my goal and everything, but somehow I have more faith. I think this is an effect of tapping. I have more faith that it's going to happen in the right way and in the right time. Because I just got the refusal from the lady I met in Sweden. She was very prompt. She
Yep.
declined. This is
Yep.
not what I'm looking for now. And I totally did not take that on. I was like, I thank you for being so prompt to reply. That's all. That was like, and that was fine. Because now I've got a couple of other steps. I've got 3 other steps I'm working on. So
Yeah.
it's like, that's okay. It'll all be given to me in the right time. If it gets published, it gets published. And if it don't, well, what the hell? It's on my computer and
Let's
my daughter
try
has
that. I
access.
release
I release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to the right time.
to the right time.
So just for everyone who's observing, what I like to say is let's test everything. Test everything. Release your emotional attachments to whatever comes up, even if it seems positive. Let's test and see if it is positive or not. And because when you release emotional attachments, you're never going to lose anything that's good and real and true. Once you release your attachments to everything else, what remains will be the truth. And you'll know it's the truth because the truth never binds. The truth doesn't cause suffering. People like to say the truth hurts. No, it doesn't. Giving up the false is what hurts. We don't want to give up the false because we think that we're going to lose something if we give up the false. But actually, truth always liberates. So if you're not feeling liberated, if you're still suffering, you must be attached to something false still. And even if it seems positive, it can have attachments that cause suffering. Yeah. So what's happening right now? What if you just notice what's happening right now? What are you noticing?
Like the pressure of I've got to get those books published is
Mm,
is a lot less.
yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, that's one that you're going to easily get hooked in because there's the positive side of that, right? There's a positive side of having deadlines. There's a positive side of making progress and movement and so on. And then this has got a demandingness about it or a harshness about it. I don't know how to describe it exactly, but there's some kind of
Pressure
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. And just say I release
or release
all my emotional attachments
all my emotional attachments
to pressure
to pressure.
and everything that's causing it.
Everything that's causing. I even put pressure on myself because I couldn't, when I came home yesterday, I couldn't hang my coat in the closet. I couldn't do these normal,
Yeah,
easy
yeah.
things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like,
So even though you
yeah,
have an injury, of course, you're not going to allow yourself any slack. No, no, you still should be. Now, speaking of pressure, I'm noticing the time because we're over time. So we're going to have to pause here. Thank you, Carol, for this. You keep
thank
tapping.
you.
Yeah, I'll see
Always
you again.
great.
So I'll get to find out how this goes. So that'll be nice to follow up and see what happens. Would you give a round of applause to our volunteer? Thank you so much. Now, I hope I'm showing you. Now, I'm trying to stick to the basics here. There are other intentions that we use. There are, but still, 95% of the time, I use these releasing emotional attachments and restoring energy flow. Now, there's far more in terms of different ways of using this than I can show you in a small demonstration like this. I would love for you to if you're interested to be able to follow up with this. But you know what? If you do nothing else but take away the simple tapping and continual tapping, you do the tapping as much as you can every day just to tune and tone your energy system and bring down your stress and anxiety. And you just try out these statements. You can find these on our website at intentiontapping.com if you forget, or if you take a screenshot right now, or just write down. It's basically I release all my emotional attachments to X, whatever the problem is, whatever that's upsetting you, whether it's a person, an image, a thought, a belief, an event, a memory, whatever it is. And then if you have a disturbance in the body, and it's in a certain area in your body, you can say, I restore the right energy flow to this area. Or if you're noticing a certain type of feeling, you can say, I restore the right energy flow to this feeling. Or if you're noticing an emotion like sadness, you can say, I restore the right energy flow to this sadness. The process can be applied. I say you can apply it to any problem you're experiencing right now, and you can release your emotional attachments and restore your energy flow to any body energy disturbances that are linked to that problem. You can use it on any past upsets that are still hurting you or that are intruding in your life now. Excuse me. And you can use it on any projections your mind is making about how bad things are going to be in the future, which is making you feel anxious and stopping you from being present in your life right now. When you release your emotional attachments to the past and to the projected future, then you discover that you can be present in your life more, having your life where you are right now, and you discover that the world is much kinder than you think it is. Now, where to from here? We do have workshops. We have level 1 workshops, which are open to everybody. And then those who want to go on to become practitioners and use this with other people, they're going to do the level 2 training, and they're going to learn how to go deeper and how to use it with other people extensively. I also have some group coaching programs that come up time to time. These are on intentiontapping.com on the events and training page. So the website with most of this stuff on it is intentiontapping.com. Some of you may know that I also have EFTdownunder.com, and we have a lot of stuff on there about EFT as well as SET and as well as intention tapping, and also some other stuff that we've developed. So these are 2 resource websites, EFTdownunder.com and intentiontapping.com. But the intentiontapping.com is becoming the primary resource for everything about intention tapping. Now, we do have a level 1 workshop coming up in November. It's only 2 or 3 weeks away. That particular one is going to suit this times. If it's similar time to what we're at right now, starts about an hour earlier. I know it does go into the evening for those of you who are on the east coast of USA or Canada, but it's the best I can do, starting in the morning for me and doing a workshop then. And then we have other workshops that we do in my afternoon, which will suit people who are in Europe and the UK. Or if you're a crazy person and you like to get up at like 4 a.m. your time or whatever, that might work for you. But you can find out about all of that on the Intention Tapping website. And I would like to just put the next workshop into the chat for anyone who is interested in that, because that's just right around the corner. So I'm just going to put the link for that in the chat, and anybody who wants to, you can just click on that link or copy that link. I will send this out after the program. If you're not signed up to my newsletter, I encourage you to. You can sign up to that at intentiontapping.com or at EFTdownunder.com, or you can just send me an email. Now, also, I have lots of free videos on YouTube showing this. I've done other coaching programs like this. I've done longer ones. On the website, there's a 2-part self-help program that I did. You can watch that for free, and it can give you more about the basics of using this approach. I know we're way over time, but I'm happy to take a couple of questions. If there are someone does have a pressing question or something, I'm happy to stay a little bit longer to answer it. I realize if you need to go because of the time, that's fine, but I'm happy to stay for a moment to answer a question or two if someone has one. Thank you, Elizabeth. Yeah. Oh, you're coming. Yeah. Okay. Be good to see you at the level 1. Okay. All right. So anyone have a question or a comment or an observation or a last word? You can type it in the chat if you like, or you can just put up your hand. And if not, last call. Okay. All right. Thanks for those, the lovely comments that people are. Oh, give us an example of PET. You mean PET, which is provocative energy techniques. I'm not doing PET today. That's another advanced approach I developed with my friend Dr. David Lake. You can find out some information about that on the EFT Down Under website, where I've got information about all those different approaches. But essentially, provocative energy techniques is a way of combining a provocative style with tapping. And you already see a little bit of that with me because I bring humor into what I do. So that's one of the elements of that approach. All right, I think we'll just pause here. Thank you for coming. I appreciate you giving up your time for this. I hope you found it valuable. If you could send a comment or a little bit of feedback, I'd love to read it. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you in the future if it works for you. Ciao for now.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks,
Thank
Steve.
you.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. See you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Ciao.